There comes a point in your journey when you understand that serenity is not a distant prize to be hunted. It's a fortress you construct, stone by stone, decision by decision. And if you do not command your own spirit, life will command it for you. You and I are familiar with the taste of fury, that fire in the chest, that strain that tightens your throat, the way it colors your entire world in shades of conflict, making you a stranger to your own better nature. We've all been there, staring at a phone screen, rereading a message that feels like a deliberate blow, your entire body humming with a need for retaliation that you know, deep down, will only leave you emptier. That deafening quiet after words that cannot be taken back. You promise yourself composure for tomorrow, but tomorrow repeats the script of yesterday. New faces, new circumstances, the same pattern, the same storm. And here is the reality we avoid. Our rage does not flare because the universe is unjust. It ignites because we have not yet become masters of the universe inside us. Napoleon Hill called this the starting point of all achievement, definite desire, born from an acute awareness of what we must become to have peace. Not a vague wish, but a burning, non-negotiable commitment to self-possession. Today, I will share with you another path, 5 disciplines, timeless, straightforward, ruthlessly true, that can render you nearly immovable. Not because challenges vanish, but because your foundation solidifies. Discipline 1. Intercept the spark. Most believe anger is a detonation, but in truth, it starts with an ember, a lone word, a glance, a regret, an insecurity. And the ancient philosophers knew that if you smother the ember in time, you never face the inferno. Napoleon Hill spoke of the definite chief aim, a purpose so clear it anchors you. Think about that principle. I knew an entrepreneur, let's call him Alex, whose definite aim was to build a company that treated its people like family. One afternoon, his top salesperson resigned to join a competitor, taking key clients. The spark was the resignation letter. The ember was the thought, after all I did, this is betrayal. The old Alex would have fired off a scorching email, but his definite chief aim acted as a circuit breaker. He asked, "Does reacting from hurt serve my aim of being a principled leader?" He paused. He scheduled the civil farewell meeting, wishing the employee well. A year later, that same employee, disillusioned by the competitor, returned, bringing 3 times the business back with him, citing Alex's integrity as his reason. The pause wasn't passive. It was the most strategic power move he ever made. You cannot command the markets. You cannot command betrayal. You cannot command loss. But you can command the meaning you assign to these events. The moment between stimulus and response is your sovereignty. One heartbeat, one still instant. That is all required to select mastery over reflex. Society believes power shouts, but genuine power is a whisper. Discipline 2. Anticipate the human flaw. Often you are outraged at others because your expectations are a fantasy. You expect integrity from the manipulative, constancy from the fleeting, depth from the shallow, self-awareness from those who are asleep. Hill wrote of the 6 basic fears, the fear of criticism, poverty, ill health, loss of love, old age, and death that drive most human error. People will fail you, not out of malice, but because they are imperfect, fractured in manners unknown to you, often acting from these very fears. The coworker who takes credit for your idea is screaming her fear of poverty and criticism. The friend who flakes is paralyzed by her own indecision and fear of commitment. It's not about you.
Waging wars you cannot perceive, bearing scars heavier than their actions. When you anticipate the flaw, a shift occurs. You cease making every act an affront. You cease auctioning your tranquility. You cease outsourcing your emotional sovereignty. And in that space, Anger finds nothing to cling to. You begin to see others with what Hill termed applied faith, not blind trust in them, but an unshakable faith in your own ability to navigate their humanity without losing your peace. You view them as lessons, not obstacles. Discipline. 3. Withhold your reply. When you are wounded, there are instances when the cut is deep. A partner deceives you. A colleague undermines you. A stranger targets precisely the insecurity you hoped was hidden. And your primal urge is to strike back, to justify yourself, to claim victory, to unleash the sentence that sears all bridges. But Epictetus taught that if you are provoked, your own permission was granted. You are not a hostage to your feelings unless you surrender the key. Consider the story of Eleanor, a writer who discovered her closest friend had plagiarized a core idea from her private manuscript. The hurt was a physical nausea. Her first draft of an email was a masterpiece of venom. But she remembered another Hill principle: going the extra mile, the habit of delivering more than is expected. She applied it to her own character. She asked, "What would a response that serves my highest self look like?" She waited 72 hours. Then she sent a simple, factual note with evidence, stating her disappointment and her decision to distance herself professionally, void of hysterics. The silence that followed was powerful. The friend's reputation quietly eroded through her own actions, while Eleanor's dignity remained intact, attracting a publisher who had heard of her poise under fire. When you speak from an open wound, circumstance owns your tongue. Your history owns your reply. Your hurt morphs into your identity. So the law is this: never utter a word when your pulse is drowning your reason. Allow the wave to crest and fall. Let the turbulence subside. Return to your center, and then consciously choose your character. Because composed choices mature like fine wine. Reactive ones turn to vinegar. Discipline. 4. Forge an inviolable inner realm. You are shaken by external chaos when you lack an interior sanctuary to withdraw into, when you are addicted to applause, permission, certainty, or domination. But the principle of the mastermind, allied with a council of supportive, disciplined minds, builds an unassailable citadel, a private domain where you hold the only gate key. This is more than a support group. It's a strategic alliance of mutual growth, where minds ignite each other's clarity. Hill, in Outwinning the Devil, spoke of the necessity of creating a personal initiative sanctuary, a mental and physical space where outside influences cannot penetrate your definiteness of purpose. And you construct that citadel through consistent, demanding action, embracing solitude, auditing your thoughts, journeying without distraction, refusing what weakens you, releasing attachments that diminish you, selecting growth over convenience. It's in the daily ritual, the 5 a.m. page of journaling where you converse with your future self, the weekly review where you measure your actions not against others' opinions, but against your own definite chief aim. With every act of will, you lay another block in your base. With every instance of restraint, you heighten your ramparts. With every commitment to your truth, you become your own most trusted ally. The more formidable your inner world grows, the less potency the outer world holds over you. You develop what Hill called a pleasant personality that stems not from fakery, but from the unassailable confidence of self-mastery. You are pleasant because you are no longer easily disturbed.
Discipline 5. Elect purpose over persona.
The persona is the shrill cry that insists, I must dominate, I must be vindicated, I must be admired, I must be acknowledged. Purpose is the steady murmur that says, I only wish to remain faithful to the person I vowed to become. One births resentment, the other births equanimity. Recall the last occasion someone attempted to belittle you. Your persona demanded a counterattack, yes? But inquire, did their judgment truly alter your worth? Did their language truly touch your core? Or was your persona terrified of seeming insignificant? Here is the truth modernity ignores. You do not attain peace by becoming impervious. You attain peace by releasing the need for external validation altogether. This is the heart of persistence, the sustained focus on your aim, regardless of insult or praise. Marcus Aurelius reflected, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. You need not out-scream them or out-debate them or out-resent them. You only need out-evolve them. Serenity is not captured by conflict. It is cultivated by ascent. If you embody these disciplines, the planet does not transform. Individuals don't suddenly turn gentle. Obstacles don't miraculously soften. What transforms is your own being. Your capacity to witness instead of erupt, your capacity to understand instead of oppose, your capacity to remain rooted while others spiral, your capacity to depart without venom, your capacity to elect stillness over bedlam. And here is where calm transmutes into strength, not fragile, not indifferent, not yielding, but potent because it is intentional. It is the applied faith that your path is true, even when others try to shout you off it. When you know your own depths, no one can manipulate your shallows. When you direct your thoughts, you direct the reality you inhabit. When you release what holds no weight, you become undeniable. There exists a rendition of you can likely sense her, who no longer jumps at every provocation, who no longer enters petty battles, who no longer sacrifices rest over those who have forgotten her, who no longer torches her own sanctuary just to win a momentary skirmish. That rendition of you is not a mirage. It is one deliberate choice at a time, one ingrained discipline at a time, one sunrise at a time. It is the CEO who, after implementing a pause, now runs board meetings where tension transforms into productive debate. It is the mother who, by expecting imperfection, no longer escalates bedtime into a war, but guides it with calm consistency. It is the artist who, by building his inner citadel, creates from a place of abundance, not a desperate need for recognition. They have integrated Hill's principles not as business tactics, but as the very architecture of a resilient soul. Remember, your mission is not to conquer every disagreement. Your mission is to conquer your own nature, to achieve what Hill described as the ultimate victory, the harmony of your emotional, mental, and spiritual faculties. Let rage dissolve. Let others exist in their own current. Choose the path less noisy, the one that guards your soul. This is how you build a legacy of influence that isn't loud, but magnetic. This is how you turn your life into a statement so profound it needs no explanation. If this message found you, subscribe and continue ascending with me.